to the Texas redistricting battle. Democrats who've fled have until tomorrow to return to the state after leaving to prevent a vote on congressional redistricting. And now the feds are getting involved. Texas Senator John Cornyn saying in a statement today, quote, "I'm proud to announce that Director Kash Patel has approved my request for the FBI to assist state and local law enforcement in locating runaway Texas House Democrats." So let's talk to one of those Democrats who is not in the state of Texas, and that is State Representative Mihaela Plisa. Representative, thank you for being with us here today. I'd love to start here. You know the deadline. It's tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Will you return to Texas?
I will not return to Texas by tomorrow. This is much bigger than Texas. This is about the entire nation. And I'm so happy to be here with you tonight and to talk about what's going on in Texas and how it's going to affect all Americans.
I totally agree. This is not a local story. This is a national story. But I do have to ask you, you have essentially abdicated your job. You're running away from the state of Texas to deny a quorum to vote. Why not just stay there and vote no if you disagree with the redistricting? It seems by running away, you have run away from your job.
So I haven't run away from my job. I know that that's the narrative that's been put out there. I haven't abdicated my duties. I'm still very much present. I'm having meetings. I just had a meeting with the State Employees Union yesterday. My district is still out meeting with City Council, attending events. So I've literally, it's been 4 days. It's not an abdication of the job. Who's abdicated their job is Governor Abbott, who has put mid-decade redistricting ahead of the flood victims that really should be our priority.
Well, I mean, I believe that's on your agenda as well, to update warning systems and provide funding for the Texas flood victims. But that also is incapable of being voted upon because of your and many other Democrats' absence. So I don't understand how it's Governor Abbott's fault that vote is not taking place when you're the one not in Texas.
Unfortunately, Republicans in the Texas House have shown that their priority has been redistricting. If you look, even today, they put redistricting hearings before flood victims on the agenda. Anybody can go to the Texas Senate website and look at the floor calendar there. And so when you look and see that there have been 9 hearings on redistricting and only 2 or 3 on flooding,
the order of business is the privilege of the majority. You brought up that you've only been gone for 4 days and you don't consider that an abdication of your job. Okay, when will you return? When will you take these votes?
I am willing to take votes when Republicans are showing that they're not doing the bidding of Donald Trump and that they're focused on Texans and Texas voters. We had hundreds of thousands of people come out to testify against these maps, thousands of emails sent to our offices that they are against these maps. Even in my district, I'm getting emails every day saying, please stand up to this. It's not just about these specific maps. We're seeing now that J.D. Vance is trying to do mid-decade redistricting. He's having meetings with other governors. This has turned into an arm race that we really need to de-escalate. So I'm ready to get to work. I'm seen as...
Representative, this arms race was begun long ago from liberal-leaning and Democrat-majority states like California, where 40% of the vote went to Republicans, but only 17% of the seats coming from that state to the United States Congress are Republican. Or even worse, Massachusetts, where Republicans get 35% of the vote and have exactly 0 seats in the United States Congress. And to be honest, Representative, that's 2. I could rattle off a dozen of these states, all Democrat states with 0 Republican representation, where not everybody in that state votes that way, from Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, New Mexico, on and on and on, where the representation is not proportional.
I understand.
The question, Texas is not unique nationally. This is not unique what you are protesting right now. What is unique is your and your fellow Democrats' unwillingness to participate in the democratic process.
No, actually, I'm sorry, but you're incorrect. We are using the democratic process. Quorum break is actually a tool that the founding fathers of the Texas Constitution put in so that the minority party, since we do not have a filibuster, we have the quorum break, and that's the tool that we're using. So it's totally legitimate. We're not criminals. We're not pedophiles, or we haven't done securities fraud. We are using a legislative tool, and that's it. We're literally citizen legislators.
Really quickly, I don't know of anybody that's accused you guys of pedophilia. I do think there is some question about whether or not your behavior is criminal. There is talk of arrest. Governor, you know that, Governor Greg Abbott. And by the way, we're honoring your request not to reveal where you are today. And there's a reason you don't want to reveal where you are, because you're concerned about that from Governor Abbott and I guess the director of the FBI as well. So we're honoring that request from you, and we appreciate you being here on the show. But I do think what's important here is when you will return. You know, if your condition is, as you said a moment ago, once Republicans, in your words, don't do the bidding of Donald Trump, well, that seems like it could potentially be unending. You simply disagree with them. You don't like what they're pushing for. And at some point, if that's your standard and you never come back, it's a real question of when you have abandoned your office.
Well, the governor calls 30-day special sessions. They're not infinite. So this special session will end on August 19th. Whether or not he chooses to call another special for 30 days to do what Donald Trump is asking him to do, or whether or not he puts on that agenda the STAR test.
We've lost the representative. I had one more question, which was, let's talk about who's paying for this trip out of state. The planes, the stipends, the fines. Unfortunately, we did just lose that feed. I know everybody always wonders why and how that happens, and the answer is apparently we can put a man on the moon, but we can't sometimes maintain a consistent feed from a representative in another state than Texas. We do very much appreciate Representative Pliesa appearing with us here today.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.